To the afternoon session of the Landmarks Preservation Commission's public meeting for December 16th, 2025. We're resuming with public meeting item number 7, and I'll turn it over to our Director of Preservation, Corey Harala.
Thank you. Public meeting item 7 is LPC 25-03952. This is an application for a binding report in multiple boroughs, block lots. It's Macomb's Dam Bridge, originally Central Bridge, and 155th Street Viaduct, individual landmark. This is a metal truss swing type bridge designed by Alfred Pancoast Bowler and built in 1890 to 95. The application is to repaint the bridge. This was last presented at the public hearing of October 21st, 2025, and no action was taken at that time. The applicants have made revisions to the proposal, and we'll show those to us after we open the proceedings.
Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson, would you make a motion to open the proceedings?
So moved.
Commissioner Chu, would you second that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the proceedings are open. You may begin.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. Nice to see you all again. My name is Nick Betnati. I'm a Deputy Director of Urban Design with the New York City Department of Transportation. Here today to talk about some of the updates that we've made to the Macomb's Dam Bridge repainting. Oh, here we go. Whoops. Got it. Just to orient, we are talking about the Macomb's Dam Bridge. Here is the overall landmark site. As was mentioned, we were last here at the end of October speaking with you about the painting of this bridge. Since then, we've taken your direction, gone back and taken a look at sort of all of the different colors that we have across our landmark bridges. We've looked at other colors that are in our paint palette across bridges in the city, and wanted to share that research with you and sort of where we're at in terms of what we think might make sense in balancing those maintenance needs with obviously the aesthetic and historic considerations of the bridge. This was the previous paint analysis that was done in the 90s that supported the current color, just to bring that back for context. The original color of the bridge is what you see on the far left, the Munsell 10YR74. This was shown in the paint analysis as not what was recommended for approval back in the 90s when this was repainted. That is the color that is in the middle. That's the current color that is out there. Obviously, when we were here in October, we were proposing the darker Munsell gray color, consistent with some of the other bridges. Ooh, that moved without me touching it. Sorry. There we go. In taking the commission's advice, we went and took a look. Sorry. Let me go forward. Maybe. There we go. We went and took a look at all of the individually landmarked bridges within the city. There are 7 of them total. This does not include the Macomb's Dam Bridge, obviously. So we've got the Brooklyn Bridge, which is mostly stone, but it's got the sort of medium brown tone for the metal members. There's the Carroll Street Bridge in Brooklyn, a very small bridge. It's got the blue painted railings. University Heights, which is along the Harlem River, is the green color that you see. We have the Queensboro Bridge, obviously very iconic. It's that brown and tan combination. And then also along the Harlem River is the High Bridge, which is a stone, but with the metal truss is that Munsell gray, as well as the Washington Bridge. Not the George Washington Bridge, but the Washington Bridge. I always get them mixed up. But anyway, so these are the sort of colors that we see across our existing individual landmark bridges and some of the relation to the Macomb's Dam Bridge. We also took a look at, if this moves forward. Apologies. There we go. We also took a look at some of the other significant bridges in our inventory that have other colors. Starting right to left, we've got the Williamsburg Bridge, obviously one of the iconic East River bridges. It is mostly a gray, but it does have this red pedestrian walkway that has since faded to a little bit of a pink color, in case you've been out there recently. Then we have the Manhattan Bridge, again, a blue and white kind of accented color that's out there. The Manhattan Colonnade is landmarked, but the bridge itself is not. And then we have the Willis Avenue Bridge, which if you've been along the Harlem River, is sort of a taupe brown color. Again, one of the sort of unique options in our inventory. Just as a quick refresher, we showed this slide in the October hearing. These are the standard set of colors that were approved by the Public Design Commission. So this is what the majority of our 800+ bridges are made up of in various tones, shapes, or forms. If you see a color on a bridge that's not on this, it's probably not our bridge. There's obviously state bridges, there's MTA bridges. For the most part, this is what you will see in terms of the palette that goes across New York City, and from a maintenance perspective is obviously one of the contributors there. What we've looked at in context of the bridge was how could we take into consideration the aesthetic considerations that were raised by the commission previously, the light color that the existing paint provides, the kind of impact that that had for the community. That's really what led us to consider the George Washington Bridge gray color. And we have a couple photos of existing bridges that have been painted that to show you for context. So we're not just looking at a computer screen. And then we also looked at the Willis Ave color in closer detail and find that it is actually very, very close to the original paint color. So not the paint color that is out there, but the original paint color per the analysis. So we thought these were both fair options to present. The George Washington Bridge gray obviously keeps the Macomb Dam Bridge as a sort of unique color along the Harlem River, sort of befitting its landmark status. And the Willis Avenue taupe is obviously more consistent from a historical paint analysis perspective. So we felt it was important to come and present these options to you. We think these are both viable, but we saw different benefits, pros and cons in the consideration of the two. So again, just for context, this is sort of all of the bridges along the Harlem River. You've got the ones that are unique colors called out in red. Plus the Macomb's highlighted. So you've got the Broadway Bridge, the University Heights coming down. You've got the High Bridge in Washington. That's sort of the most proximate to the Macomb's. Then moving further south, you get to the Harlem River Swing Bridge, Madison Avenue, the Park Avenue Bridge, which is actually a rail bridge for MTA, 3rd Avenue, and Willis, just to give you sort of the overall context. This is a bridge that was recently completed along the FDR. This is as part of East Side Coastal Resiliency. Obviously a very different bridge type. This is a tied arch, consistent with sort of what we're seeing around some of our new bridge structures. But this is one of the few that we have in the George Washington Bridge gray color. It's actually a color that's not used very frequently in our palette, but we do have some of these examples. So we wanted to give you a sense of what that looked like in real life. And then obviously here is the existing Willis Avenue Bridge. The color swatch that's shown there is the original paint color from the paint analysis. So you can see obviously how closely the Willis Avenue Bridge matches that. And that's really it. We wanted to sort of show our work, right? I think the suggestions that we received from the commission were really beneficial. We wanted to take them to heart. We came to these sort of two as both being colors that are maintainable, obviously one that relates historically, and one that we think sort of embodies the spirit that we heard from the commission around making it a unique color and sort of befitting its landmark status. And that's it. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Chen?
So we definitely are more inclined towards the George Washington Bridge gray from a maintenance and a durability perspective. It's part of our palette. We have mechanisms where we can procure that in a more easier fashion than the Willis Avenue taupe, but both are acceptable. We can make both work.
Any other questions? Commissioner Chu?
I wanted to follow you had shown the two color proposals, and you say that the gray would keep the bridge distinct from other Harlem River bridges. Could you just go to that map? Because it seemed to me that the blues are the grays here.
So all of the other Harlem River bridges are that dark Munsell gray that we were proposing
Right.
previously.
Okay.
So in terms of like the lightest color that we have in the palette, correct. Yeah. Sorry.
Stands out 'cause it's light.
Correct. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Yes.
Commissioner Jefferson?
All the bridges are gray already, but Harlem River, the bridges are colored gray.
Willis and University Heights is the green color.
But we just, that other one is the unique one.
Yep.
Okay. Other questions, commissioners? Okay, I think we can go ahead and start this discussion. Um, no, I think because we didn't have testimony, but thank you. Commissioner Ikumbe, would you like to start this discussion?
Sure. Thank you for the succinct presentation. I believe that for me, it's very straightforward based off of our last conversation that we had, especially trying to maintain the uniqueness of this one bridge. And that being the case, I see the Willis Ave taupe could be the one to go for.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Wilder?
Yeah, thanks for getting back to us so quickly, so this remain fresh. Yeah, I agree. I think the lighter gray doesn't give you the distinction that you really are looking for. I think the Willis Ave taupe, it kind of bookends it in a way. I know there's bridges further up, but I can see how that makes sense to have the Willis Ave taupe.
Thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg?
First of all, thank you for the presentation. And this is an interesting one. If this wasn't a historic bridge, I'd go for the gray. But given that the taupe is closer or very close to what we think the historic color is, I agree with my fellow commissioners. We should go with the taupe.
Thank you. Commissioner Mahan?
Thank you very much for the careful follow-up analysis, and historic review as well. I agree that the taupe is the way to go here. Looks great. Thank you.
Commissioner Chen?
Same here.
Thank you. Commissioner Goldblum?
Great.
Commissioner Jefferson? And then Commissioner Chu. Okay. Commissioner Ikumbe, would you like to read the motion?
Sure. In the matter of LPC 2503952, Macomb Dam Bridge, originally Central Bridge, and 155th Street Viaduct. A metal truss swing type bridge designed by Alfred Pancoast boiler and built in 1890 to 95. This application is to repaint the bridge. I recommend approval, finding that the proposed work will not damage or eliminate any significant architectural features, that this bridge was historically painted numerous times with a variety of colors, and the existing finish is severely deteriorated. Therefore, repainting the bridge within a limited range of finish options is warranted, and that repainting the bridge will help to protect this steel and iron structure from corrosion and aid in the long-term preservation of this individual landmark. Therefore, I recommend that the bridge be painted the taupe color currently used on the Willis Avenue Bridge, which is significantly similar to the original color of the Macomb Dam Bridge and can be procured for regular maintenance by DOT.
Thank you. And Commissioner Wilder, would you second that motion?
Second.
Thank you. And Mark, can you please call the vote?
Vice Chair Master,
Aye.
Commissioner Chen,
Aye.
Commissioner Chu, Commissioner Ginsburg,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum, Commissioner Quembe,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Aye.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Wilder.
Aye.
9 in favor, none opposed, the motion passes.
Congratulations, that's been approved. Let's move to the next item.
The next item is public meeting item number 8, LPC 26-03633, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 1374, Lot 1, 779 Fifth Avenue, the Sherry Netherland, Upper East Side Historic District. This is a neo-Romanesque and neo-Gothic style hotel building designed by Schultz and Weaver and Buckman and Kahn and built in 1926-27. And the application is to paint a door surround. This was read into the record of the public hearing December 2nd, 2025. However, it was not presented and no public testimony was taken at that time. We'll do that after we open the proceedings.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen, would you make a motion to open the proceedings?
So moved.
Commissioner Mahan, would you second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the proceedings are open. You may begin.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Brendan Snyder. I'm with Atchison Doyle Partner Architects. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Melissa Cerulli, who's joining me today. She's worked on this project along with me. Is this automatically going to come up with the? Not doing it. Yep. There we go. You were just using the down arrow? The right arrow. Okay. Apologize for that. We're here today representing our client, Margot McKinney, with a proposal to refresh the existing 1980s Michael Graves storefront at the Sherry Netherland Hotel. This is being put forth in an effort to align with the new owner's brand and signature color, yet at the same time being respectful to the original design intent of Michael Graves, adding a pop of color to the elevation as he did originally for Diane von Furstenberg. Oops, apologize. All right, on the left, we have a map of the Upper East Side Historic District locating where we are at 5th and 59th. Next to that is a Sanborn map from 1907, giving us a larger view of the Sherry Netherland plot. And then on the right, two context photos, the first one being tax photo from the 1930s, 40s, and present day photo of the Sherry Netherland. In the upper left-hand corner, again, locating where we are within the Sherry Netherland, the retail store itself on the west facade, most northern corner of the Sherry Netherland. Below that, we have ground floor plan and mezzanine level plan because it is a double height volume space with the red box highlighting the storefront aspect that we are looking at today. On the upper right, we had Jablonski do a paint analysis to determine what the original colors of this were. The upper Grecian cup, the gold color that you're seeing there is a crescent bronze, brilliant, rich pale gold. And the perimeter portal around the entrance is the Sherwin-Williams sommelier. And then the storefront itself, which has already been reviewed by Landmarks and is the color Essex green. That's the historic color that continues to be used on the Sherry for all of its windows, storefronts, et cetera, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there, with a most present day as we could get, because there is a protection bridge up blocking all of this right now with the FIS work that is going on. But you can see the storefronts on either side of the entrance and the windows above, all in that historic Essex green. I wanted to introduce you to the client, Margot McKinney, in the sense that as we're putting forward this design as a signature color for her brand, the company itself, which started in 1884 by her great-grandfather, she is a fourth generation running this. The green itself is their signature color. They use it on the interiors and millwork and things, but most prominently, it's at the entry of each of their stores, most often being a front door or something around the perimeter. On this sheet here, showing a comparative analysis starting on the left with an 1884 photo of the original Michael Graves storefront for Diane von Furstenberg. The middle of it is present day. At some point, it was painted over. We don't know when, so that we have those colors in the representation of that. But on the right is what we're proposing. So the portal itself would be in the Pantone 356C, which is the client's signature green color. We would restore the gold Grecian cup on top to the original color being the brilliant, rich, pale gold. And then all other aspects would remain as the Essex green, including the interior portion and door of that portal. Next, I want to spend just a moment on the oculus itself. As in the upper left-hand photo, you can see it was originally used as signage. Michael Graves had Diane's signature put in that as signage for the store. And we want to sort of reactivate that with signage and the logo M, which Margot McKinney uses for her stores. However, ours would not be on the glass. It would be a stained glass piece hung on the interior behind the oculus itself, so it is removable. It is not permanent or affixed in any way to the oculus. The right hand is just an interior drawing of that same signage piece. And finally here, a rendered shot of how the portal would be in the Pantone color itself, with the remainder of that being in the Sherry Netherland green. And then, of course, you can see how that relates to all the other storefronts. I did also want to comment and note that what you're seeing in the glass around it is brown construction paper or paper because it's under construction, meaning that is not how it would be intended. It would be clear glass you would see into it with display cases. So in closing, I wanted to comment on a 2014 interview that Diane von Furstenberg did with magazine, talking about how Michael Graves had, or how she had asked Michael Graves to create something that was precious and rare and make it a shrine to Venus. And so Michael Graves created the design and color and palette representing Diane von Furstenberg's brand and wishes, as this was a store for of clothing for women. And that's essentially what we're trying to do here today with this. We are also proposing a color palette representative of our client's brand and her wishes. We believe that this is a modest and respectful proposal that preserves the original design intent while allowing for the storefront's continued relevance and vitality in a contemporary retail setting. Thank you. I'll take any questions that you have.
Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Wilder?
How much do we take into consideration the rest of the storefronts and facade?
Sorry, you're asking me or you're asking your commissioner?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think on these buildings that have, in large case, uniform storefronts, I mean, the commission has often considered that to be an important sort of characteristic of them, but I think has also allowed some deviations here and there, either when requested or perhaps required for code reasons, maybe for accessibility or something like that. But, you know, I think there are very few, but occasions where, you know, just like here, sort of a one-off was reviewed and approved. And I can't say exactly what those commissioners at that time considered with regard to the other storefronts, but I think, you know, if I'm correct about this, the fact that the sort of outer portions of this storefront still use the same greenish color that the rest of the storefronts do, it seems like there was some intent, at least on the applicant's part, if not something the commissioners had discussed. So, I mean, I think it's certainly something to consider like we would for any building, although the focus of this is just this one unique storefront.
Commissioner Ginsburg?
In the green, there's sort of a black grid. What is that?
That is the front door. It's the muntins of the
No,
glass.
no. In the
Oh.
curved green,
The upper portion around the oculus?
no, it's shown if you go to, what page is this?
You can see here.
Page 5, it's clearer. Right, you see the black lines and then across, what are those?
Again, are you talking about the part of the oculus where the sign, the M is around? it?
No, the frame. Here,
Yes.
Oh, those lines. Yeah. Well, that's part of the original design. It's a stucco. Stucco. Yes.
The whole portal and the dark green, that wall, that.
It is. Yep. Yeah, all of it is stucco except the Grecian cup, which is actually wood. Yeah. Yeah, I believe that.
Commissioner Mahan, did you have a question?
So does that stucco, both the portal enframement and the transom surrounding the oculus, does it have, I guess it has some kind of scoring pattern
There's
in that?
texture to it, and yes, that portion has a scoring on it, and it would still be visible
Okay.
through the paint. So this is not removing that.
And are you proposing to fill the score lines, particularly in the door enframement, with something dark, or are those just shadow lines?
Just shadow lines.
Okay.
Yes.
And can you explain, is it just a feature of the rendering? I don't know
Mhm.
why they're so distinctly different from the sort of original and the current, which I can see faceting, but
Mhm.
not sort of reveals.
Right. No, it is probably just nature of the rendering itself. We do not intend to do any additional scoring to deepen them or turn them into anything more than they currently are.
Any other questions? Okay, I actually have a question. In the original Michael Graves storefront, what color is the stucco around the oculus?
Yeah, it's just a natural gray. There wasn't paint or anything applied on it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, let's go ahead and see if there's any public testimony. Is there anybody in the room who would like to speak on this item? Noting that there isn't, let me turn it over to Elizabeth Lee to see if we have any remote testimony.
Those joining via Zoom who wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. Seeing none, I'll note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 8 recommends approval. Friends of the Upper East Side recommends approval on the condition the color of the stone portal return to its 1984 hue and the display windows remain transparent. Victorian Society of New York recommends denial, and one individual opposes.
Okay, did you want to comment on any of that?
The only part would be the community board hearing that we went to that was an even split of 5 for and 5 against. 1 abstained within it, but due to their rules, an abstention becomes a no vote. So it becomes a no, but it wasn't even split. And I felt that the ones who did understand it understood where we were trying to essentially restore a pop of color that Michael Graves was doing at that time.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do we have any final questions? Okay, if not, let's go ahead and close the hearing. Commissioner Chen, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Commissioner Mahan, would you second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Commissioner Goldblum, would you like to start this discussion?
Sure. I think this is an appropriate proposal. I think that the intent of the original, and let's first say that I think that the Michael Graves modifications were worthy of protection, even though they are not of the original design to the building. I think that they represent a significant aspect of architectural history in New York City. And we've had discussions, I believe, last year about postmodernism and its place in the roster, which is still a developing topic. And I think this certainly belongs there. So I think the notion of protecting this 1984 facade or storefront is worthwhile and is appropriate. And I think that the color is not perfect or Gravesian or necessarily the most appropriate for this very, very elegant and upper crusty hotel. But I think that given its very circumscribed location in an area that already had a contrasting color with the historic facade, I think that the color is acceptable. And I think it also kind of forms a template for how this facade is going to be dealt with in the future, where we should try, I think, as a commission to protect the Michael Graves work, but allow for it to be branded with tenants as they come in this space.
Thank.
Ask if anyone wants to testify on this.
Oh, we didn't testify?
No, our raise hand function wasn't working properly. So we just want to make sure that anyone who wanted to testify can't. So why don't you ask if anyone they should?
Got a couple there.
Apologies to everyone who's online. I believe we have fixed
Never
the
mind.
issue, but those joining via Zoom who wish to speak, please use the raise hand function for this item.
So apparently our raised hand function wasn't working. So what we're going to do is we're going to reopen the hearing and then let them testify and then we'll close it. Commissioner Chu, would you make a motion to open the hearing?
So moved.
Commissioner Kumbe, would you second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is open.
You'll be promoted to panelist, after which we ask you to unmute, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. The first speaker will be Zainab Turan.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Zainab Turan, speaking on behalf of Friends of the Upper East Side. Friends welcomes the preservation of this historic storefront in its original Essex green color and the restoration of its distinctive stone portal crowned by a gold Grecian vessel designed by the distinguished architect Michael Graves in 1984 as a shrine to femininity for the Diane von Furstenberg store. We also find the proposed stained glass signage behind the glass oculus to be tastefully executed. However, the committee considers the proposed bright green color for the stone portal inappropriate and strongly recommends returning to its 1984 terracotta color. If a bold green accent is desired, it should be incorporated into the interior displays behind the glass, where it can enliven the storefront without compromising its historic character. Thank you, Commissioners.
The next speaker will be Benur Fatima.
Hello, my name is Manur Fatima and I am speaking on behalf of HDC. HDC finds this application to be inappropriate and not complementary to the iconic design of the Sherry Netherland. The storefront is one of the few Michael Grave designs in the city, and it's important to preserve the design as he imagined it. Although the bronze statue above the doorway seems like an improvement, the bright green colored door appears to be out of place with the building's design and not in line with the architect's original choice of that terracotta brown. Moreover, the original ornamentation of the gate should be retained, as such design is rare. Thank you.
The next speaker will be John Graham.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Graham for the Victorian Society in New York. The Victorian Society has no objection to replacing the modern stained glass at the oculus. However, we strongly object to the applicant's decision to move further away from the original, well-documented colors of the storefront. Paint is a significant defining feature of Michael Graves' work. Mr. Graves is a major late 20th century architect. The buildings he designed are important additions to the streetscape of metropolitan areas all over this country. Restoring the original colors in their original locations will have no effect on the applicant's use of this retail space. Their signature color could be used within the vitrines that we understand are to be installed behind the store windows. The proposed change to the paint colors at the storefront should be rejected. We urge the Commission to work with the applicants to select colors which would restore the unity of the original Michael Graves design and be harmonious with the materials and color palette of the historic Sherry Netherland. Thank you, Commissioners.
The next speaker will be Andrew Cronson.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Cronson. Like a bad penny, I'm back, even while traveling currently, and will be many times as a 29-year-old. Hopefully as many times as Christobal Goff has during her tenure observing meetings. 779 Fifth Avenue was created by Diane von Furstenberg, whose mother was a survivor of Auschwitz. This fast-down story of fearlessness amidst immeasurable horror was enormously influential in Diane, who used that image of her mother to forge her own path as an immigrant to be a female entrepreneur. She became an icon who broke the glass ceiling. Looking to Graves, who was once the best-known architect in the world, von Furstenberg intended her store to be a sanctum to Venus, a place of dream and fantasy where women could imagine who they could become. Graves was especially particular about his buildings speaking to people, their backgrounds, and their desires. He looked to traditional precedent with the columns and gilded urn, but sought to reimagine them in a bold contemporary context. The often simplistic shape forms and always playful decoration were defining for Graves throughout his career, present everything from skyscrapers to even transport chairs for patients in hospitals. Having proposed before this commission in the 80s, great pains were taken to make a respectful statement on the outside with hues that recalled patina but would be not ostentatious. The original dark green brought a bit of life to the fenestration, while the dark brown doorway was Graves' color of choice for historic sites. Diane intended for this as her upscale store with a theatrical interior that was an experience of itself. For Graves, color very much was the architecture. However, looking now to customize the oculus, which had Diane's signature, makes a lot of sense. Gilding the urn does as well. While this application may only be a consequence of the building it is in, it has grown to warrant merit in its own accord. Even as an alteration, the storefront is a testament to capitalism, the American dream, and women's history in a way that few can match. It is in fact an enhancement that deserves to continue to the fullest extent with contextual changes. It does not have to be frozen as a shrine. Although Gray was once part of the New York Five, only a few works were realized in New York City, which makes this so important to realize his life in the canon of postmodernism. The legacy of those like Don Furstenberg and Graves remind us of the exuberance that can be found within. This building is a physical reminder of those possibilities that transcends to really inform us more about ourselves. Thank you very much, and thank you for having the Zoom work properly today.
Anyone else who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function.
All right, would the applicant like to respond to some of the comments?
Yes, I would just like to reiterate that the design that Michael Graves did was in direct relation and taking into account Diane von Furstenberg's brand and what it is that she was trying to bring across. It was a representation of her. And with our current client bringing this into the state of where it is today, we too are trying to represent the client, and that is the color selection here for it. While it is slightly different hues than what Michael Graves did, I think it's in keeping with the way that he envisioned it, meaning as a representation of Diane von Furstenberg. So we were attempting to do the same as part of this.
Thank you. I think we have one more remote testimony.
The next speaker will be Mike Godin. Mike, please unmute and you may begin. Mike, I have just asked for you to unmute. Please unmute and you may begin. Mike, I believe there's some technical difficulties, but we have received your written testimony and we will be moving forward.
Okay, so let's go ahead and close the hearing. Commissioner Ginsburg, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Commissioner Mahan, would you second that?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Commissioner Goldblum, would you like to start this discussion?
Sure. So the testimony was interesting, and I still think that the green as shown is okay, especially since we know per the paint analysis that the terracotta was not the original color. However, I will say that terracotta is a color that Michael Graves is very much associated with in his postmodern phase. While I think this would be appropriate, I think the applicant could consider painting the door itself and the flat portion of the wall around the oculus the green, and keeping the arch in the terracotta might be a better solution, but I could accept it as is.
Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson?
The grave scheme has a subtlety. That the oculus and the color background of the oculus is a subtlety in the micrograve. Subtlety in the box that's holding up the gold piece. Flatter color, and I back and looked at it a little more subtly.
Thank you. Commissioner Kumbe?
I find what has been presented to be acceptable. I believe it is in essence with the intent of more or less branding, more or less. And I do find it appropriate as is.
Thank you. Commissioner Wilder?
Yeah, I think because of the location and because it was always kind of doing its own thing tied to the business that was there, I think the deviation in the proposed design is acceptable, and so I think I can find it appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg?
I don't think the green is acceptable to me. It is not if you look at the colors that Michael Graves used, they tended to be pastels or the terracotta. And I think the green screams out as not fitting in right. I think behind the glass, using some green to indicate it, I think the glass in the oculus is fine. And I think the restoration of the gold is really good, but I think just something else besides the green.
Thank you. Commissioner Mahan?
I agreed precisely with what Commissioner Goldblum said, that I can find this acceptable as is, but maybe an even better solution is the terracotta and frame it with the green door and transom, but I can find it acceptable as is. Also, I didn't know about this. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
And Commissioner Chen?
Yeah, this is indeed a lot of fun. I agree with Michael Goldblum that I can find it acceptable given the context. Although personally, green is a very difficult color for me personally to work with.
Okay, I think we have 6. If you, perhaps what we could do is say that they can consider something, around the oculus.
Got it. Regarding 779 Fifth Avenue, the Sherry Netherland on the Upper East Side Historic District, the application is to paint a door surround. I note that the building's style, scale, materials, and details are among the features that contribute to the special architectural and historic character of the Upper East Side Historic District. I further note that the existing storefront was designed by Michael Graves and installed about in 1985. I recommend approval finding that the proposed work will not damage or eliminate any significant architectural features, that the proposed painting and installation of signage will be easily reversible, that the relationship between the bright green color at the entrance surrounding dark green at the remainder of the infill will recall the original color contrast between the door surrounding the other storefront elements and will be consistent with Michael Graves' use of accent colors for the projects, and that the proposed stained glass signage set behind the clear glazing of the oculus window will be well scaled to the storefront. And in keeping with the placement of the storefront's original signage, we also recommend that the applicant consider with staff restoring the terracotta at the arch surround and painting the wall around the oculus and the door the green instead, but the vote would be on the application as shown.
Thank you. Commissioner Kumbe, would you second that motion?
Second.
Thank you. And Mark, will you call the vote?
Vice Chair Master,
Aye.
Penn,
Aye.
Commissioner Ginsburg,
Nay.
Commissioner Goldblum,
Yes.
Commissioner Quimby,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson,
Aye.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilder.
Aye.
7 in favor and 1 opposed. The motion passes.
Right, that's approved. We'll move to the next item, public hearing item number 9, LPC 26-04313. This is an application for an amendment. It's in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 1392, Lot 25, 53 East 77th Street in the Upper East Side Historic District. This is a modified Neo-Spanish Renaissance-style residence altered by Pleasance Pennington in 1926-27 from what was originally a Beaux-Arts-style residence designed by Henry Rutgers Marshall and built in 1901. The application is to amend Certificate of Appropriateness 25-04569 to modify previously approved changes to the front facade and install rooftop mechanical equipment. This was last presented at the public hearing of December 9, 2025. I'm sorry, it was read into the record on that date, not presented. No public testimony was taken at that time. So the applicants will present this for the first time after we open the proceedings. And I did want to also note that this was originally advertised with reference to mechanical work at the rooftop, and that's been determined to be eligible for staff review. So it's the changes that, to the facade that you'll see today.
Okay, let's go ahead and open the proceedings. Commissioner Wilder, would you make a motion to open the proceedings?
So moved.
Commissioner Kumbe, would you second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the proceedings are open. You may begin.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jonathan Taylor with Higgins, Quays, Barth & Partners, Preservation Consultants. I'm here with my colleague Ward Dennis, and Marcus Dochanchi of Studio MD Architects and his team. I'll be making the presentation, but the design team is here to I'll answer any questions if needed. Do I need to click? There we go. We're here today with updates to a proposal approved by LPC in 2024. 53 East 77th was constructed in 1901 and its facade was redesigned in 1927. The project approved last year included the restoration of the facade largely back to its 1901 design. So we're here with some relatively minor modifications to that, but because they're departures from that restorative approach or those restorative details, that's why we're here to present these changes to you today. Just a map showing the location of the building on the north side of 77th Street, just east of Madison Avenue, sort of at the northern edge of the historic district. These are some existing photos of the house. These largely reflect its design as a result of the 1927 redesign in a style that the designation report, as Corey said, calls modified Neo-Spanish Renaissance. These images will sort of like recap the original history of the house and the approval last year and what we're proposing today. At left is a photo in 1901 upon completion of the house. As you can see, in its original style, designated Beaux-Arts in the designation report. I would say also with sort of neo-federal, neo-Georgian details. The original base was clad in limestone. The residential entry was recessed up a set of stairs behind that left opening at the street. So up to a sort of landing at an intermediate level between the sidewalk and the sort of piano nobile, so intermediate level in the middle of that base. In the middle of the facade were these two sets of windows kind of little bit odd on the facade, but those were located on those two levels within the base. All the other openings in the stone base have rather robust sort of stone ornamental enfranements. These ones are much simpler, and I think don't really participate so much in the ornamental expression of the building. And you can see at the second floor, there were double hung windows behind the Juliet balconies. Well, I'm calling the second floor. The second photo, again, the existing photo largely representing that 1927 alteration. The main entrance had been moved to the center of the building, and that was an at-grade entrance, no longer having the internal stairs up right behind the door. The windows at the level above the window pattern had been changed, and the French doors were changed. The windows at the level above were changed to French doors behind the balcony. The third image shows the proposal, rendering of the proposal as approved last year. As you can see, it's basically a restoration of the 1901 design. There are a couple of modifications that were incorporated into the approval. One was the addition of exterior doors at that left entry. The original residential entry did not have doors at the street. And then at the side, the visible side facade within the stone, you can see originally their windows went sort of up diagonally along the stairway, but since the stairway no longer exists and isn't going to, the approved windows on the side facade are just at the ground level. And so the fourth image, what we're proposing today, at the second floor, replacing the double hung windows behind the balconies with French doors, omitting the windows in the middle of the base. The interior now is going to be a single height for the whole base, with the entry lobby for the gallery. Well, I'll get to it. It's going to be a gallery in a second. And those windows no longer sort of relate to the floor divisions on the inside or the program. And then the introduction of modest carved lettering signage within the new stone there at the base, at the location of some of those windows to be omitted. And so in connection with signage, I would mention that this building, obviously built as a house, for many years and decades even has contained a gallery. It will continue to contain a gallery under the new ownership, and that's what the signage would be for. Elevational views, just views pretty much approved and proposed, calling out these items I mentioned. I'll also mention that we're proposing a slight redesign of the ironwork at the new door. I'll show you details of that as well. But the door itself has been approved, and there's no change to the materiality or door configuration or size. These sort of cutaway axons kind of explain that difference again between the original condition and the proposed condition. At the left, you can sort of see that stairwell going up to that middle level that's no longer going to exist. And what was already approved in terms of modifications from the historic, you can see in green, again, the windows on the side, not in the same position as the original ones, adding the exterior door, and then the newly proposed modifications in blue on the front facade. Again, sections just sort of explaining the original existing and proposed condition at the center of the facade, behind those windows. The original was sort of a basement level, low basement level with a sort of entry landing above. Later, the entrance was moved again to that ground level, and then it's proposed to have a single space here in the base. We had a plan in the last presentation we sent, but in any case, that volume there is the lobby, entrance lobby of the gallery. Street view rendering of the changes. I think these are pretty straightforward. Elevational view of the base, also showing the second floor windows. I would just note again that the signage is proposed in a location, again, this is all new stone, and it's also in a location where the rustication of the stone was already going to be interrupted by the windows, so it's sort of reusing that space. And just mentioning again, I think that these sort of unusual and relatively simple windows, we don't really think are a significant part of the facade design, and it can be appropriate to omit them. Detail of the lettering, 6 inches tall. I think for Staff rules might allow for some other kind of signage, like a plaque that might actually be, I think, visually more intrusive. Again, this is going to be a new stone. The gallery is the owner of the building, so it's not a matter of tenant signage that we expect to be changing out every few years, but hopefully represents the long-term investment and use of the building. Details of what I mentioned, the sort of update to the ironwork at the new door. Again, it's not a historic door, so the previous design wasn't a restorative design, and the new design is just ironwork, sort of very much inspired by and in keeping with typical designs for buildings and houses of this style and age in the district. Moving to the second floor, again, French doors proposed instead of double hung windows behind the balconies. We feel these are appropriate partly because balconies, I think, suggest this kind of an operation, this kind of an access between the inside and the outside. And in fact, you'll see, I'll show some examples of other houses in the district, similar houses where that's in fact the case. These will also be on the first two bays of the side facade, which sort of match the primary facade detailing. Details of the windows, which will be wood, fairly simple number of horizontal divisions intended to be harmonious with the very simple 1/1 double hung windows across the facade. And as I mentioned, numerous houses of this age, style, or related styles in the district often have Juliet balconies at this level or multiple levels. And I think more often than not, actually, accordingly, have French doors behind them. So we think, while it's not exactly matching the configuration of the original, it's certainly an appropriate approach for these openings. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Goldblum?
Yeah, the central windows that you're proposing to remove, is there anything programmatic behind there that inhibits them, or was it just you didn't want windows anymore?
It doesn't physically inhibit them, but they're not
Mentally?
Sorry, mentally, spiritually. I think the applicant would prefer not to have windows. It's not needed or particularly desired for the interior lobby space, and there's certainly no division anymore that
Right.
can
And in
reflect
terms
that.
of the side windows, what was the historic condition? I mean, the whole premise of this project when it was originally presented, if I'm not mistaken, was that we're going to restore what was there before, and what was there before on the side there?
On the side?
Yeah.
So is this?
So yes, that view. What was the historic condition? Can we go back to there we go.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's a pretty oblique view,
hard
but
to tell.
and the diagram is meant to represent this, which was there was a series of windows that went up the interior stairway. And so that is one thing that was not restored because there is no stairway there now, and there's not going to be one again. And so that was a part of the approved, included that, I think, minor departure where windows would instead just be at the ground floor.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Commissioner Mahan?
Pure curiosity, do you know what those small individual 6 windows were at the bottom? And they're so unusual.
Yeah. I believe from a written article about the house when it was published that they probably relate to like sort of a servant's sitting room or something. Definitely it was like a pretty low space there, so I think it would have been fairly utilitarian or that type of space then.
Any other questions? Oh, Commissioner Jefferson?
Typical facade like this, the center window, is that typical or that's more modern, isn't it? The center window.
I think, well, it's certainly atypical on this house. I mean, I think that all the openings that are within the stone have some kind of real decoration around them or carved ornament. The windows above all have big stone lintels, and so I think their simplicity is definitely unusual within this house's own design, and I think it's anomalous. I can't really think of it as being something you'd see in before. Sorry?
Why did you put the window in before?
Well, originally, because it was there, I mean, historically, and so the original idea was, as I said, that the facade was going to be completely restored to its 1901 design, which did include those windows. So that's why we're back here today, because this is a departure from that. Because in fact, it's not quite desired for the new program and interior layout.
Any other questions? Okay, let's see if we have anybody here who would like to testify. Is there anybody here who would like to testify? Noting that there isn't, let me turn it over to Elizabeth Lee for remote testimony.
Those joining via Zoom who wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. You'll be promoted to panelist, after which we ask you to unmute, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. The first speaker will be Zainab Turan.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Master and Commissioners. My name is Zainab Turan, speaking on behalf of Friends of the Upper East Side. Friends Preservation Committee supports the French doors on the second floor, as this level serves as a visual transition between the limestone base and the upper floors, making the proposed change from double windows to French doors appropriate. However, the committee found the limestone base lacking visual interest without the window openings between the arched doorways, which we think are essential for creating movement and depth at that level. We also request clarification on the signage dimensions. While the drawing on page 6 specifies 6-inch lettering, the rendering on page 8 appears to show significantly taller letters. Thank you, Commissioners.
The next speaker will be John Graham.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. John Graham for the Victorian Society in New York. When we testified on the proposal to restore this facade in 2024, we found the 1926 makeover of this house in the Spanish Renaissance style to be a comprehensive and significant 100-year-old alterations. Nonetheless, we recommended approval of the proposal to restore the facade to its 1901 Beaux-Arts design by Henry Rutgers Marshall, in part because of the comprehensive and well-detailed restoration proposal. The current proposed modification to the approved design includes some minor changes that are unobjectionable, including changing the double-hung windows to French doors at the second floor balconettes and addition of rooftop mechanical equipment. However, the elimination of the windows in the limestone base at the middle bay is a significant departure from the original design and an inappropriate change to the approved design. There are surely ways that the windows can be designed to read as windows, regardless of the floor levels behind. Thank you, Commissioners.
The next speaker will be Andrew Cronson.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Cronson.
Whoops.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Cronson, opining one more time today. When the beloved Carla Hotel is seen, and it's a very prominent place of importance to me personally, the contrast in style and coloration with this building was a really nice contrast in the streetscape and along 77th Street. While I love restorative designs, and such work is a constant reminder to all of us and the commissioners that no building is too far altered to be of value and too far altered to be returned to a proper appearance, I'm very concerned that the secondary alterations by Pleasance Pennington, who is among the very canon of 20th century architects, is going to be erased. The question really today is which era you can prioritize. Is there a way to have both stories be told and still create a very impressionable and remarkable building? This very subtle but refined design that Pennington put in recalls the work of Grosvenor Atterbury and William Dominic, and it certainly has merit on its own. Thank you very much.
Anyone else who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function. The next speaker will be Winor Fatima.
Hello, my name is Manur Fatima, and I'm speaking on behalf of HDC. HDC finds the originally approved scheme to be more appropriate than the new proposal, and the original plan should be maintained as such. The central element of the window pattern on the ground floor should be upheld as part of the original intent of the design. HDC finds the remainder of the proposed alterations to be appropriate. Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function. Seeing none, I'll note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 8 recommends approval.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to respond to the comments?
Yeah, just briefly, I think with regard to the testimony by Andrew Cronson, I mean, I do want to clarify that obviously I think we all know that the restoration, the choice to restore to the 1901 design was approved last year. And so it's not a matter of choosing now between retaining the 1927 alteration and the 1901 one. And then with respect to the sort of presence and depth of the openings, I'm not sure if this is maybe what John Graham was suggesting, but in terms of maintaining a reading of the openings, I would mention that one thing that we, given the applicant's desire not to have windows, one thing that the team did consider was the idea of recessed stone, recessing the stone in the pattern of the openings to have sort of blind openings that read as the original windows. Although I do think that because these windows are such an odd presence on the facade that they wouldn't, in that case, they wouldn't really, I don't think, read to someone as necessarily clearly as former window openings, but would be just kind of an inscrutable pattern. And so I think that speaks to their sort of not terribly significant nature role in the facade and why we think it's appropriate to omit them. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any final questions? Okay, if not, let's go ahead and close the hearing. Oh, Commissioner Goldblum, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Welder, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
Motion to close.
Commissioner Kumbe, would you second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Commissioner Mahan, would you like to start this discussion?
Sure. I wasn't here for the prior approval, but it's quite a substantial restoration. Looks very careful and thorough. So a significant investment indeed in this building. I can find the French doors appropriate. The logic and precedent makes a lot of sense there. With regards to the windows, I find the original design curious and somewhat awkward and inelegant, as this is all, technically new fabric, and judgment is being exercised, subjective judgment to restore to the original condition in the first place. I think that same judgment can be exercised to modify in this, I think, relatively subtle way that design to improve it and make it more aligned with the future use of the building. With regards to the sign, I can also find the engraved sign appropriate, again, given that this is not original fabric. I know it's not, it's a somewhat atypical, application in this type of building in this location, but I can find it appropriate. I would note, since there's not a lot to focus on here, the discrepancy in some of the imagery of the sign. It is noted as 6 inches in a close-up rendering, and it does look, I think, appropriately scaled in this particular image, the side-by-side elevational image. The oblique image, it does appear larger to me. The serifs are slightly different as well there. I find this one, to be more appropriately scaled, slightly smaller.
Thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg?
So the French doors on the second floor are fine, and I think the windows on the side are fine. Really prefer the approved design to the proposed design. It just looks fairly blank to me without those windows there. I'll wait and see what my fellow commissioners say. I agree that the lettering would be all right, and I think that could be integrated into the facade with the windows that are there.
Thank you. Commissioner Walder?
I like I like that you guys came back or originally got this approved before with the reintroduction of the limestone and the rest of the design elements at the ground floor. It's almost like, what if you never added those windows? Now that they are there, I think they do add the kind of historic character of the original design, and I can't unsee it at this point. And I think because of that, and I was also waiting for some sort of justification of why they should be eliminated from this facade. And I don't think that the trade-off makes it appropriate. So I'm okay with the French doors. And I can be okay with the signage being that if the windows are staying based on what everyone else says, it's relocated. But I think the windows should stay.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Kumbe?
I find the introduction of the French doors to be acceptable. As it comes to the windows on the lower floor, I find them very striking, and odd at the same time. I'm trying to wrap my head around how the banding goes through them, and sometimes it just nestles right next to it. But I do think it is a prominent feature from the original facade, as we know. I am okay with potentially not making the complete puncture through the material, but maybe so we can have some a memory of what was once there. Maybe it could be blind.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jefferson?
Doors, the door surround is masterful, the way they do. Both schemes, masterful. I think the window scheme to the right is simple, elegant. Door surround holds that. Left-hand side has more elements. Dynamic. Has its own beauty. So I am torn between A and B. The elements and the way they come together, beautifully done.
We might, yeah, well, I think it would be helpful because we're torn. So if you have a slight preference, that would be very helpful.
Emphasizes the door surrounds as being these elements. I think the windows on the second floor, fine, they're okay. Base level is that's where I think the beauty of the building is in.
Okay, without the extra window openings. Okay. Commissioner Goldblum?
Get 10 architects in a room, you're going to get 11 opinions. So I, of course, disagree with Everardo, but I think the way I look at this, there's two ways to view this. One was the way it was originally presented, which is as a restoration or recreation of what was there before, which was at the time argued as the more relevant or more important design of this building, iteration of this building. The second way to look at it is as a kind of garden variety, Upper East Side, limestone, traditional redo, of which we see many as well. And the first kind is held to one standard, right? How close are you copying? The second one is held to a different standard, which is how good is it as a member of a very large family of traditional, classically inspired buildings. I think on both cases, the right scheme fails. Obviously, it fails because it's not a good copy, because we saw in the original that the copy had those weird windows. That's why they put them there in the first place. The second way to look at it from my point of view is that it's a tripartite building. That was a tripartite building. That still basically is a tripartite building. The two arches are not equidistant or centered. They don't shift the rhythm as some buildings do at the base. They keep the rhythm. They keep the center line of the arches above, but there's just a big hole in the middle. And I think it's a hole that classically you wouldn't normally see. I would say that something has to be in the middle, or the arches have to move together to create a dual bay instead of a triple bay arrangement. I think you could take the window, the upper window, and lower it down. I think you could keep the two windows as they are. I think that Darius's idea about doing the shallow recess is interesting, but I would probably say that I would just rather see that lower glass to be a translucent glass or something if they don't want to have it to be vision glass. But I think that the fact that you have this big blank center on a tripartite geometry facade just doesn't work for me.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Chen.
Yeah, I'm of a similar opinion that first of all, I have no problem with the second floor treatment of the French windows. But I do agree with Commissioner Goldblum that somehow, I think it's been commented by other members as well, that the windows in the middle in some format, maybe, keeping it as the square window with the window treatment that Michael just suggested. But somehow I'm in agreement with her. And I have no problem with Commissioner Mann's suggestion with the engraving being, but the proportion does look off based on the rendering.
So just kind of adding up the math here, I think because this is a multi-part application, there is agreement that the casement windows could be found appropriate. And I think also that the carved signage, perhaps with an adjustment, if the windows, the windows up above and below are to stay, could also be supported by the commissioners. And the doors weren't really discussed perhaps in great detail, if at all, but I think that was something else you were looking at, and it's very similar to what was approved last time. So in that sort of grouping, I think there is an approval to be had. However, there is not a consensus around the request to remove the windows in the middle. And in fact, I think more than not wanted to see them stay. So there was a suggestion that could be further studied, and perhaps the applicant could come back if they want to. If they don't, they could keep the approval they already have, which would maintain those windows in the openings. Yeah, the windows wrapping the side to the second floor would be part of the approval of the casements. So I think we can do an approval in part and a no action in part. Again, the approval in part being the second floor casement windows, the carved signage, perhaps with a slight adjustment, and then the doors and ironwork, but no action on the request to remove those windows.
For what it's worth, I'll bet you if the rustication went across and that carving was in between the smaller vertical recessed surface, the proportions would get a lot better. I think for me, I think the reason that the signage looks weird is that it's just floating in a sea of flat limestone. If the limestone were kind of smaller in proportion vertically, I think it would work. Okay.
Commissioner Mayen, do you feel comfortable reading that motion? Or Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I think we can, that makes sense. I think we can, mhm. So the windows as they are were approved previously, so we'll just approve the rest of the application. Yeah, we'll let them think about that and come back then, if they want to make those modifications. Thank you.
In the matter of LPC 26-04313, 53 East 77th Street, Upper East Side Historic District, a modified Neo-Spanish Renaissance style residence altered by Pleasance Pennington in 1926-27 from what was originally a Beaux-Arts style residence designed by Henry Rutgers Marshall and built in 1900 to 1901. Application is to amend Certificate of Appropriateness 25-04569 to modify previously approved changes to front facade. I recommend approval in part, finding that the use of black finished wood multi-light French doors opening onto metal balconies at the second floor instead of double hung windows is consistent with second floor Juliet balcony openings at other similar Beaux-Arts style residences in this historic district. That the proposed carved house number at the limestone transom bar above the west door opening is a discrete element which will not call undue attention to itself.
And we'll include the carved signage as well as being well scaled to the facade.
That the carved commercial signage at the center portion of the base of the facade is well scaled and approved, potentially with minor adjustment to its location. That the revised ironwork design at the primary entrance door is in keeping with decorative ironwork found at doors throughout the historic district.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen, would you second that motion?
Second.
Thank you. And Mark, will you call the vote?
Mr. Master,
Aye.
Chen,
Aye.
Mr. Ginsburg,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum,
Aye.
Commissioner Quimby,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson,
Aye.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilder.
Aye.
8 in favor and none opposed. The motion passes.
Okay, and that's approved in part. The applicants can continue to work with staff should they choose to come back and address the second part of their proposal. Thank you. All right, we'll now move to public meeting item number 10, LPC 26-03234, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 1383, Lot 1, 870 Fifth Avenue in the Upper East Side Historic District Extension. This is a modern style apartment house designed by William I. Hohauser and built in 1948 to 49. And the application is to replace solariums at the setback penthouse floors. Also need to note this was read into the record at the public hearing of December 9th, 2025. However, it was not presented and no public testimony was taken at that time. We'll do that after we open the proceedings.
Okay, Commissioner Ginsburg, would you make a motion to open the proceedings?
So moved.
Commissioner Mahan, would you second that?
I'm happy to second it then.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the proceedings are open. You may begin.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Nick Wilder from Redesign Architects.
project I'm presenting is located at 875th Avenue, Penthouse C, which is at 68th Street and 5th Avenue. We are requesting a replacement of two existing greenhouses at the 20th and penthouse floors along 68th Street side. The project is located in the Upper East Side Historic District. Here we have the tax map photo showing the building. The building is from the 1940s and predominantly made of brick. The project is located at Penthouse C, which is a duplex apartment located at the 20th and penthouse floors. There's one greenhouse at the 20th floor and one along the 68th Street side, one along the 68th Street side, and there's one greenhouse at the penthouse level set back from the lot line. I did want to point out that the building has numerous setbacks and recesses at the upper floors. So in the next few slides, I'm going to show 5 existing street views. First view is looking to the west towards Central Park. Here's a little closer looking straight up at the terrace area in the penthouse. Here is 68th and 5th Avenue. Here's standing in the park looking east. And finally, we have a glancing view of the penthouse area from Madison and 69th Street. The existing and proposed 20th floor plan, here we have the existing and proposed 20th floor plans. There is an existing glass guardrail around the greenhouses. We are recommending the guardrails be removed and the new greenhouse framing pushed out to align with the slab edge. The glass guardrails are recent replacements and are not historic. And a similar design is proposed for the penthouse greenhouse. Existing and proposed elevations, the glass railings are red for visual clarity. The red railings on the left will be removed. The railing on the right will need to be infilled to match the existing. The greenhouses have become narrower and slightly taller, which we feel better responds to the building's vertical nature. In our opinion, the current bronze color of the greenhouses and the fact that it's set back from the railing disassociates itself from the building. It looks applied and does not integrate itself well. The proposed greenhouses will have a sloped flat roof, which in our opinion better matches the building's modern angular aesthetic by squaring off the corners. The mullions will be colored to match the existing guardrails. And finally, by bringing the greenhouse to the slab edge, it becomes part of the building and not viewed as an addition. Here are the other elevations. And the final existing and proposed elevation from the inner yard. These are the existing photographs of the current greenhouses at the 20th and then the penthouse on the right. Rendering showing the proposed and existing from 68th Street looking west. And for reference, there is an existing greenhouse on the 5th Avenue side of this building with a similar flat roof. In the following pages, these are some of the preliminary shop drawings of the greenhouses. I'll just move through it quickly, but happy to answer any questions. The mullion sizes on these are going to be similar to what is there now. And that concludes the presentation. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Okay. Is there anybody in this room who would like to speak on this item? Noting that there isn't, let me turn it over to Elizabeth Lee to see if we have any remote testimony.
Those joining via Zoom who wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. You'll be promoted to panelist, after which we ask you to unmute, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. The first speaker will be Zainab Turan.
Vice Chair Master, Commissioners, my name is Zainab Turan, and I'm speaking on behalf of Friends of the Upper East Side. Friends can support this application as the proposed dimensions, materiality, shape, and color of the replacement solariums and the replacement windows on the 20th and 21st floors are appropriate. However, given the increased glazing on the solariums, we remain concerned about bird strikes and request that bird-friendly glazing measures be incorporated. Thank you.
The next speaker will be Manor Fatima.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Manur Fatima. I'm speaking on behalf of HDC. HDC finds the replacement to be appropriate as the new windows should not be very visible and they are in the rear of the building and would not alter the appearance of the building in any significant way. Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function. Seeing none, I'll note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 8 recommends approval.
Okay, it looks like the testimony was fairly supportive. Did you have any comments about it?
The only one was with regards to the bird strike. I'm happy to talk with ownership about adding a foot pattern to the glass.
Thank you, thank you. Commissioners, any final questions? Okay, if not, let's go ahead and close the hearing. Commissioner Chen, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Commissioner Mahan, would you second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Commissioner Wilder, would you like to start this discussion?
Sure. I think that the changes overall to the greenhouse, especially the view from the street, which is shown here, I think overall I can find them to be minor, and that this can be appropriate. It's the one question would be the relationship between the existing railings and the greenhouse, but I think because of the location, it's very hard to see the differentiation between those two. And for that reason, I think I can find it appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg?
In general, I find it appropriate. The one thing I might look at is putting additional mullions in the glass, because instead of it being more vertical in the older version, it's more horizontal here. But I can find this appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Mahan?
I can find this appropriate.
Thank you. Commissioner Chen?
Same here.
Thanks. Commissioner Goldblum? Good. Commissioner Jefferson? And Commissioner Kembe?
Appropriate.
Okay, it looks like we have the votes to do it as presented. Would you want to read the motion?
In the matter of LPC 26 03234, 870 Fifth Avenue, Upper East Side Historic District Extension, a modern style apartment house designed by William L. Hohauser and built in 1948-49. Application is to replace solariums at the penthouse. I recommend approval, finding that the proposed work will not eliminate or damage any significant architectural features, that the work will be on the high floor at the rear of the building and only seen obliquely from public thoroughfares at a distance and partially obstructed in connection with the building's primary facades, that the proposed solariums will replace existing solariums of similar size and will be well scaled to the terraces and simply designed, and that the solariums will be consistent with modern solariums found at the building and other apartment buildings throughout the historic district in terms of materials and predominance of glazing.
Thank you. Commissioner Kembe, would you second that motion?
Second.
Thank you. And Mark, will you call the vote?
Vice Chair Master,
Aye.
Chen,
Aye.
Commissioner Ginsburg,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum, Commissioner Quimby,
Aye.
Jefferson.
Aye.
Commissioner Mann,
Aye.
Wilder.
Aye.
8 in favor, none opposed. The motion passes.
Okay, that's approved. Thank you. Let's move to the next item.
Right. So next, last item of the day and of 2025, it's public meeting item number 11. LPC 26-04283, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, Block 1493, Lot 37, 950 Park Avenue in the Park Avenue Historic District. This is a Renaissance Revival style apartment building designed by J.E.R. Carpenter and built circa 1919 to 20. The application is to replace windows. This was read into the record at the public hearing of December 2nd, 2025. However, it was not presented and no public testimony was taken at that time. We'll do that today after we open the proceedings.
Commissioner Jefferson, would you make a motion to open the proceedings? Commissioner Goldblum, would you second that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the proceedings are open. You may begin.
Thank you. Hello, Commissioners and Landmark staff. Thank you for hearing this application today. My name is Jackie Prudu-Vallon of JPD Preservation Consulting, and I'm honored to be your last presenter of 2025. I'm here today with my client, the apartment owner, Daniel Kaufthal, and Michael Pecht of Skyline Windows. We're both here via Zoom. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. Before I really begin, my client, Daniel, would like to make a few remarks, if he may.
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Kaufthal. My wife and I are the owners of the apartment for which these windows are being proposed. My wife and I chose to move to this neighborhood because it's important for us to be in walking distance to our young children's new school and to our family's places of worship. We're hopeful you will help us be able to move into our new home this winter because our renovations cannot be completed until these new windows are installed. Thank you for your time and consideration today.
Thank you, Daniel. So, back to, oops, sorry, I'm having trouble with the, oh, sorry about that. Okay, do I have control? Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, so the building's located on the southwest corner of East 82nd Street and Park Avenue in the Park Avenue Historic District. Here are existing condition photos of the building. All of the windows above the ground floor are aluminum single pane tilt and turn and single pane casements at the wider openings at the corners. Almost all of the windows were replaced prior to designation in the 1990s. The windows on the building were originally multi-light double-hung wood windows. They were 10/10 at the wider corner openings and 8/8 at the other openings. Again, none of these original windows remain today. Okay. Here are the photos of the locations where the windows are to be replaced at the south and east elevations, circled in red. On the right is a photo I took just to try to show with a little more clarity what most of the windows look like, and their wide square panning at the brick molds. Here you can see the location of the windows to be replaced at the north elevation, again circled in red. And the smaller photo on the right is a photo I took, again, just to show with a little more clarity what those windows look like from a different angle. The Park Avenue Historic District was designated in 2014, and since that time, 950 Park has applied to LPC for window replacement on 2 occasions. In 2015 and 2018, LPC approved at hearing installing single pane tilt and turn windows with profiled extruded panning to better replicate the appearance of the original brick molds. And in 2015, the approval was for the replacement of historic multi-light double-hung wood windows with new windows to match the predominant window configuration on the building, single pane tilt and turn, or casements. And in 2018, the approval at hearing was for the in-kind replacement of tilt and turn windows. In both cases, among the findings was that the installation would maintain the uniformity of appearance of both primary elevations. The elevation drawings on this sheet are taken from the 2018 approval for new windows at the 4th floor. On the top are the former windows, and on the bottom are the proposed, which were then installed. On this sheet, you can see the former and approved vertical sections for the windows that were approved for the 4th floor. And you'll note the OG profile at the aluminum panning, replicating the original wood brick mold that had an OG curve. Here's the horizontal sections for the former and approved details of those casement windows. And here are the horizontal sections for the former and approved single windows. Here are photos of the custom brick mold panning, what that looks like as installed at the 4th and 5th floors. Here are the building elevations with the replacement locations circled again just for clarity of the scope of work. Here's the floor plan, so you can see the proposed replacement locations that way. And here are the proposed window elevation drawings. Here's the proposed vertical section for the new windows, showing an OG curve at the location of the brick mold, as was approved at the other locations since 2015. And here's the proposed horizontal section for the new windows, again showing the OG curve at the location of the brick mold. The Park Avenue Historic District is a smaller and more recent designation, and so we had to look to another nearby historic district for a relevant approval. This is 1133 Fifth Avenue in the expanded Carnegie Hill Historic District, which received a C of A in 2023 for the in-kind replacement of single-pane tilt-and-turn windows. In the findings for that approval, the commission decided that the work would support a unified appearance of both facades. So to conclude, we ask that commissioners again find it appropriate to maintain the existing uniformity of the window openings on this building, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ginsburg?
Why are you replacing the windows? Since it seems like the windows there are fairly recent.
That is a good question. That's never actually come up. Would my client or the window manufacturer
Sure.
like to speak to that issue?
The windows are not recent. They're I believe approximately 40 years old, 35 to 40 years old. They were installed in the late 1980s. There are several of the locks. Many of the locks are not functional, so we don't have the ability in some cases to open the window, in other cases to lock the window, which is obviously a security issue, a safety issue with tilt and turn windows that open in. I have 3 children under the age of 10. We've searched endlessly for replacement parts. We've been told by various vendors that the parts are not manufactured anymore. There's really nothing we can do. Some of the glass panes are clouded up from moisture penetration. We're concerned about that getting worse. Safety issues, can't repair them. I'm concerned as I complete a full renovation about the compromised integrity between the window and the masonry that it is installed in, and water penetration there. So they're beat up. They're in bad shape. And the first route I went down was I tried to pursue repair and I failed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, noting that there's no one in the room to speak on this item, let me turn it over to Elizabeth Lee to see if we have any remote testimony.
Those joining via Zoom who wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. You'll be promoted to panelist, after which we ask you to unmute, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. The first speaker will be Manor Fatima.
Hello, commissioners and Vice Chair Master. This is HDC's last testimony to the LPC for 2025. HDC finds the plans for these particular windows to be appropriate, but ideally there should be a master plan for the whole building. HDC would like to see a long-term incremental proposal to return the building windows to their original condition. Thank you.
The next speaker will be Zainab Turan.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Zainab Turan speaking on behalf of Friends of the Upper East Side. When Friends testified 10 years ago during the proposal to replace the building's last wood-framed divided light windows with inappropriate single-pane tilt and turns, we argued that any necessary replacement should be made in kind and that the building should adopt a master plan specifying wood-framed divided light windows matching the historic 8/8 or 10/8 configurations of Carpenter's original design. A decade later, Friends continues to strongly urge the building to devise a master plan to guide the sympathetic replacement of the original windows. However, until such a plan is adopted, we can accept the proposed window design on the 12th floor. Thank you, and I wish everyone happy holidays.
The next speaker will be Robert Denton.
Robert Denton here. I am president of 950 Corporation, Park Avenue, and we support Dan's request to replace his windows. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Robert. Anyone else who wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function. Seeing none, I'll note for the record that Manhattan Community Board 8 recommends approval.
Thank you. Jacqueline, did you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you. The issue of a master plan has come up since we've been working on this application, including I've had conversations with Robert Denton, who you just saw on Zoom. He has told me in conversation with my client that the building does intend to move forward with a master plan. However, their concern is that for now, this particular property owner wants to be able to move in and accommodate his family. And they are also concerned that the process of just getting a consensus among the other shareholders in the building can take some time as to what exactly they want the proposal to be for the master plan. Will it be something that could be a staff level approval, or would it be something that they would need someone like me to show you at a hearing again for a master plan that is, say, a double hung window, but not necessarily multi-light. So these are internal conversations that we're all having. So their concern is that it could take them up to even another year to go through that process, come to consensus within the building, then bid it out, get the drawings put together by a window manufacturer. But that is something they're pursuing now. And in the meantime, they just want to maintain a uniform appearance of the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Any final questions, commissioners? Okay, let's go ahead and close the hearing. Commissioner Mahan, would you make a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Commissioner Chen, would you second that?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the hearing is closed. Commissioner Ginsburg, would you like to start this discussion?
Yeah, I think this is fairly straightforward. This is appropriate. We're replacing basically in kind, and I don't see any issues with this.
Thank you. Commissioner Mahan?
I can find this appropriate.
Commissioner Chen?
Agree.
Commissioner Goldblum?
Sorry, not me. I think this is the classic example of a building whose architecture is simple and unadorned, and whose windows in their original configuration contributed significantly to the architectural interest of the buildings. For me, we here at LPC play the long game, and uniformity will eventually come when the rest of the 90s windows reveal themselves as garbage. These should be the original windows.
Thank you. Commissioner Jefferson? And Commissioner Kimbe?
Appropriate.
Commissioner Wilder?
Appropriate.
Okay. Commissioner Ginsburg, would you make the motion?
Yep.
With regards to LPC 26-04283, 950 Park Avenue Historic District. A Renaissance Revival style apartment building designed by J.E.R. Carpenter and built circa 1919-1920. Application is to replace windows. I note that the building style, scale, materials, and details are among the features that contribute to the special architectural and historic character of the Park Avenue Historic District. I recommend approval, finding the work will not damage or eliminate any significant architectural features, that except at the ground floor, all the street facade windows have been replaced with a uniform composition of single light windows, that the proposed 12th floor Windows will match all of the existing windows above the first floor at the street facade in terms of material operation, configuration, dimensions, and finish, thereby supporting the unity of the fenestration pattern, and that the proposed profile panning will closely replicate the historic brick mold and the panning previously approved by the commission for other windows at the building in terms of profiles and details.
Thank you. Commissioner Mahan, would you second that motion?
Second.
Thank you. Mark, will you call the vote?
Vice Chair Maston,
Aye.
Chen, Commissioner Ginsburg,
Aye.
Commissioner Goldblum, Commissioner Quimby,
Aye.
Commissioner Jefferson, Commissioner Mahan,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilder.
Aye.
7 in favor, 1 opposed. The motion passes.
That's approved. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our public hearing and public meeting for December 16th, 2025, our final public hearing for the year. Thank you all for your participation, and we will see everybody in 2026 on January 6th. Thank you.